What's that sound?
It's a Hip Hop Cloverleaf Podcast.
Hip Hop Cloverleaf.
What up? Let's go!
Cloverleaf Podcast.
Thank you for tonight. Yes.
You are now listening
I'm ready.
to the Hip Hop Cloverleaf Podcast.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and good night.
Whatever,
And welcome
everybody.
to the Hip Hop Cloverleaf Podcast. We are your hosts. I am EC.
And it's your boy O, and today we got a quick show for y'all. It's the very first episode. We're gonna go over this day in hip hop, and we also have the artist come up with DJ Kool Herc.
Stay tuned.
What up, everybody? Welcome to Hip Hop Cloverleaf. We are very excited. It's our very first episode, and I'm just glad that you guys are listening to us. Very excited. Today, we are touching on the DJing leaf. Before we get into that, we're going to go over our very first segment, which is This Day in Hip Hop. This Day in Hip Hop is something we do here at Hip Hop Cloverleaf to remember and appreciate special moments in hip hop history. So, February 10th, which is today, Kanye West drops the College Dropout. Very first album by Kanye West.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it has songs like Jesus Walks, All Falls Down, Slow Jams. I could just remember being in my car seat. Actually, that's a lie. I wasn't. Actually, you know what? I was very short, so I didn't. I was in a car seat for a bit. I was 8 years old when this came out. I just remember being on the radio. I don't have any ties to it as far as like me going out and buying the actual album, but I just remember the sounds and listening to it in the backseat.
Yeah. Same. I don't think I was really into Kanye West at 8 years old. Really into too much hip hop. It came a little bit later in my life, but this is a classic album by Kanye West. Of course, you know I love this album myself. Big album for Kanye West. I remember what's that song? Through the Wire. That's one of my favorites on there for sure. And I think Kanye West, you know, he's obviously a great artist. I believe he is one of the best producers of all time, in my opinion. He's one of the best producer turned rappers, you know.
And that dropped in 2004. Now looking back where we are now, he's come a long way. I think a lot of his albums changed the sound because that's what people were trying to emulate. He also introduced, this is the very first time we saw the Kanye bear. He's kind of just slumped looking down like, damn, the College Dropout. And then, the bear evolved and it changed over the albums and it became a staple in Kanye's career.
All right, so we're going to start with the main segment of the show today. It's called The Artist Come Up. And for today, we are looking at DJ Kool Herc. And he is actually regarded for many as the originator of hip hop.
I think, he should be.
He
is the originator of hip hop.
Yeah, let's get into DJ Kool Herc. Real name, Clive Campbell. Clive Campbell, he was born in Kingston, Jamaica in 1955 and moved to the Bronx at 12 years old, and that's where he grew up. He grew up in the early 70s. He would go to a lot of dance parties, and he would host dance parties in the rec room at his family's apartment complex. And that's kind of where this whole hip-hop movement started.
Crazy.
He's known for playing funk and soul records. And so he would notice, as you know, the crowd reaction, how they would react to those kind of records, but not only the records themselves, but specifically the breaks of the records. And we'll get into that a little bit right now. I want to read a quote that says, Herc came up with the technique of extending the break by playing two copies of the same record on dual turntables. As one record reached the end of the break, he cued the other record back to the beginning of the break. So he turned the snippet of a record into an extended loop. And he would initially call this technique the merry-go-round, but it became called the breakbeat. So like DJing, right? And its sound would spawn an entirely new culture. So yeah, that whole quote right there pretty much explains how DJ Kool Herc became who he is. So he would rally up dancers with the rhythm, and they would call these dancers the break boys or the break girls. And he so he would be MCing for him, and so as I guess you can say that he was one of the first MCs as well, which is crazy.
Herc's popularity grew around the Bronx, doing these. He'd be MCing, and so his voice would be projected on his speakers, and everybody would hear it. And then he would also be saying in a rhythmic fashion, so he'd be rhyming whoever, probably like names of whoever's dancing or whoever's coming up, and he'd be framing it with whatever's around, which is pretty dope. He eventually turned over the mic to Coke Rock, who is credited as the very first MC. Just because I think he did it a little bit longer, or he did it more often than Kool Herc. Kool Herc just started everything.
DJ Kool Herc's first DJ gig was at his sister's back to school block party. So that's where everything started. The back to school jam is what it was called. And it was hosted on August 11, 1973. Cindy Campbell, which is DJ Kool Herc's sister, she was inspired to earn money for school. And so she asked her brother to throw a party.
When she decided to have her older brother, who was then 18 years old, Clive, aka DJ Kool Herc, played music for the neighborhood in an apartment building. Using 2 turntables, he would play funk and soul music and then isolate certain sounds like you were talking about, those breaks, and creating the basis of what we know as hip-hop today. DJ Kool Herc would make announcements through his microphone in rhythmic fashion, like we were saying, and he eventually turned the name of the dancers into break boys and break girls, later shortening them to B-boys and B-girls. These breakers would just relish the heavy drums and the sounds that Herc was producing, and they would dance to it. They would be doing things that people have never seen before, and you can hear it. Like, if it was dope, the crowd will let you know. And these crowds of people, there'd be teens and young adults kind of just walking around schoolyards, and then a van pulled up with a group of guys who come out with tables, crates full of records, unscrew the base of a light pole, and then plug in all their equipment, attach it, and boom, then they had electricity. So then they had a little concert right there in the schoolyard. So they were having parties, they had dancers, they had music, the DJ MCing, like it was just live right there in the schoolyard. Crazy. He'd be standing at the turntables, and guys were just like watching Kool Herc's hands, just scratching both of the turntables, and people were dancing and watching. Whatever you were doing, you were just having a good time.
DJ Kool Herc was good at picking records that people would feel, but he was more interested in making the breaks of a song, right? So the part with no vocals and just the beat playing. He would play this part for the longest period of time, and that right there became hip hop.
Yeah.
Right. So think of all the songs that have been made, with loops and samples and all that, even to today. And so that whole idea still lives today.
Yeah, sampling, I don't think would be what it is today without DJ Kool Herc.
Exactly. So kind of let me break down the style of that he would do when he would DJ. So he would play 2 of the same records, as we said, on each turntable, and he would keep on bringing the break sections back, and he'd be alternating from the two turntables, and so boom, that looping part was born in hip hop. But he would dig in the crates. He mainly looked for breaks that sounded good together, right? So he would like mix different types of soul records, different types of records. And so he had a good ear for what he was doing. He was quickly mimicked by other MCs like Grandmaster Flash, who called him a hero. His fame grew more and more. However, more DJs, were emerging, and he was known as having the loudest system around. Even though with all these other DJs coming up, he was known as the
loudest. Yeah, no matter what. Yeah, if you heard someone coming, it's DJ Kool Herc and the gang coming. Yeah,
yeah. I kind of wanna
say it.
No, I want to share this story by Africa Bambaataa. If you know who he is, he's a part of the Zulu Nation. But however, Jazzy J from the Zulu Nation, he recalls the moment where they met between Herc and Bam. So he says Herc was late setting up, and Bam continued to play longer than he should have. So once Herc was set up, he got on the microphone and said, "Bambaataa, could you please turn your system down?" And then Bam's crew was pumped and told him not to do it. So Herc, he would say louder on the mic. yo, Bambata, turn your system down, down, down. And so Bam's crew started cursing Herc, and Herc, yeah. And so Herc put the weight of his system up and said, Bambata, turn your system down. That's how it says it on there.
That's how it says
it. And so he turned it up until you couldn't even hear Bam said at all. The Zulu crew then tried to turn up the juice, but it was no use. Everybody just looked at them like, you should have listened to Kool Herc.
Damn.
So like, yeah, he would show him out like that.
Yeah.
You're like, you know what? I have the loudest system out. Fuck
Try
you.
me. Try me, motherfucker.
So yeah, he helped coin the term B-boy, as we know. And so there's another story by Grandmaster Flash where he says Flash would go into the Havelo, which I think was a known club back then where they would play at, and he would go in there to check out Herc, but Herc would always embarrass him. He would call out Flash on the mic and then cut out all the lights, all the highs and the lows on the system, and just play the mid-range. So Herc would say, Flash, in order to be qualified as a DJ, you must have highs. Then he would crank up the highs, and then he would sizzle through the crowd. Then he would say, and most of all, Flash, you must have bass. And when Herc's bass came in, the whole place would be shaking. And then Flash would get so embarrassed that he would just leave.
Damn, man, that's not the way to go out if you're trying to be a DJ. Embarrassed like that, nah.
However, although DJ Kool Herc is known as the originator, he never saw commercial success, unfortunately. In 1975, he pretty much peaked and then began to fall. Others began rising, like African Bambaataa, Grandmaster Flash, and the Furious Five. And so after a while, he finally just stopped DJing. And actually, the moment he did stop DJing, that he realized that was after being shot at his own party, which is crazy. I don't know how that came to be, but being shot at your own party, that would tell me, you know what, I should probably chill.
I think that may have to do with the rise of DJ Kool Herc and how fast it was. People's like, people probably don't want to see him make it, and you know what, let me shoot this fool. I don't know the exact story. Maybe I don't think Kool Herc would be the type to get involved in some crazy stuff. But Kool Herc began, like you were talking about, in 1975. He was using the incredible bongo band's Apache, and I know you guys have heard it. It's the one on Fresh Prince where they do the dun 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 dun. That's the one he was using. That's the main one, and it became known as the Bronx national anthem just because it was used all the time, and anytime it was played, people would be getting down and breaking. It's still used today in hip hop, and I think you were mentioning in 1975 is when he peaked. It's crazy because in 1975, gangs had almost disappeared just because people wanted to get involved in the breaking and the graffitiing and just being in that environment where DJ Kool Herc was throwing a dope party just right there on the schoolyard. Like, that's where you wanted to be. That was it. So gangs descended. I don't want to say like completely changed or that they went away, but they were busy doing something with their time instead of doing gang related things.
Wow. Yeah.
Imagine so now you're taking something negative and turning it into a positive. Gangs and violence, now you're turning it into something positive, like hip hop and breaking and dancing. And I think that's just looking at that, I think can be something's being said. So
it's amazing to see what DJ Kool Herc started and how that evolved until today. It's crazy. To this day, DJ Kool Herc, he still lives. So he's still a legend. He's living. I think he's healthy. Thankfully. And everything. Yeah. And I know, even though he did start it, as I said, he never got the recognition that he deserved, I believe. And I know that the other legends in the game, they do recognize that. They do reach out to him and let him know that. But I don't know. I'm just interested to see what DJ Kool Herc's thoughts are on that. Him not being appreciated. His thoughts on today's culture, how it's evolved, and I would love to sit down with him and just kind of ask him a lot of things. But yes, we know that even though not many people know of DJ Kool Herc, that is why we brought you this story. We wanted to bring you how this became the culture. Hip hop. So. I know this story is not very popular.
I think it should. I think more people need to know about the origins and the history of hip hop because I think hip hop is one of the most popular genres today, but not a lot of people know how it got started and what hip hop takes, like what it takes to get those sounds started because of DJ Kool Herc.
So if you're listening to this, I hope you got something out of this. I hope we taught you something today.
Yep.
And
appreciate
here
it,
at Hip Hop Cloverleaf, we appreciate DJ Kool Herc, and you know we just want the best for this culture.
Before we close out today's episode, Hip Hop Cloverleaf wants to thank you for listening and being a part of our journey. To show gratitude, we're hosting a giveaway for the Hip Hop Cloverleaf family. February 24th of 2021, which is 2 weeks after launch, we're going to be giving away a vinyl, and it's Kendrick Lamar's To Pimp a Butterfly.
In order to enter the giveaway, here are the steps you must follow. 1. You must subscribe to the podcast on any platform, that is Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any other platform, and take a screenshot of you being subscribed. 2. Post it on your story on IG or Facebook and tag us. We will announce one winner on February 24th on our episode, so make sure to tune into that episode to see if you won. We will contact you via social media, and you will have 24 hours after that to claim your prize. All right, so thank you everybody for listening to today's episode where we covered DJ Kool Herc, the birth of hip hop. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast if you like what you hear. Recommend the pod to your friends and whoever might be interested in hip hop. Be sure to check out our website, hiphopcloverleaf.com, for bonus content.
On the next episode, we'll be touching on the b-boying leaf. Make sure you tune in as we'll have a special guest. Shout out DJ Kool Herc and everybody else. You could be anywhere in the world right now, but you're here with us. We appreciate that. This is Hip Hop Cloverleaf. Peace.
It's easy.